Okay. I am Will Ash. I'm an attorney and part-time magistrate judge out of Camden County. I've been asked by the Ware County Magistrate Court to hear this case. And I'm going to go ahead and sound the case of Farenda Durham versus Robert Stoney Worthy. And you are Miss Durham, represented by counsel, Mr. Hatfield, and you are Mr. Worthy. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. And from what I understand, this is a good behavior communication harassment. I call it an application for warrant hearing. Is that my understanding, Mr. Hatfield? Okay, sounds good. And Mr. Worthy, you are, I don't see an attorney with you. You're representing yourself at this time?
Yes,
okay, all right. All right, just so you'll know, without an attorney, you're certainly capable of representing yourself as a pro se litigant, but you're held to the same standard as an attorney. So if there's any objections that you wish to make during the presentation of the evidence, I'd like for those objections to be based on legal grounds. Okay? All right, then. Does anybody have any witnesses in this matter?
Just my client.
Just my client? Okay. Sir, do you have any witnesses?
No, sir. But I would like to. I'll let you finish and I'll.
Okay. Well, if you had any witnesses, I would probably invoke what's called the rule of sequestration, but without any witnesses, I think we can proceed. And this being an application for warrant, if this court finds probable cause to issue a warrant based upon any type of criminal violations, then I will do so at the end of the case. And if that is the situation, if there is probable cause, Mr. Worthy, for your edification, it's a very low standard of evidence. It's one of the lowest standards in criminal law. If the court finds there's sufficient probable cause to issue a warrant, I'll issue a warrant. You'll be arrested today. Okay? So just so you will know, you'll be warned. Okay, so no witnesses. Counsel, any opening statements necessary? Or
Judge, we'll waive opening and just...
Okay, sounds good. Yes, sir?
I would like to make a quick brief statement. I'd like to make a note of it, Your Honor.
Oh, wait just a second. I'll get to you on that. So, no
we'll waive
opening
any
remarks?
opening.
Okay. Yes. Any objection if he makes any type of opening remarks?
No,
okay. All right. Any motions that anybody next, as far as any pretrial matters?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Worthy. I'll hear.
What I would like to say, I would like just the court to make a note that if I would have been 12 minutes late, the court would have probably fined me a warrant for my arrest.
Well, okay. So your objection then, I think I was a little bit late getting here myself, but is that your comment?
Okay,
was
well,
it the applicant is a little bit late getting here?
Okay, yes.
Okay. I have no problem. I don't find that anybody's in contempt for being late. As for what I understand, Ms. Durham is a uniformed police officer. She went home to change her uniform. Okay? So that really kind of goes to your credit there. Okay. Anything further?
No, sir.
Okay. Go ahead and call your first witness here.
Call Farenda Durham.
Come on up, Ms. Durham. Right over there. Used to have a clerk on this side and a witness over here. Okay, that's fine. You want to place her over? Okay.
Can you swear the testimony about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, state your name, please.
Farenda Durham.
May proceed, Mr. Hatfield.
All right, Ms. Durham, how are you employed?
With the Red Cross Police Department as a police officer.
Okay. How long have you been employed in that manner?
Approximately 5 years.
Okay. Are you a certified police officer in the state of Georgia?
I am.
All right. Now, direct your attention to March the 29th of this year. Did you have an occasion to, well, let me ask you, did you visit a Harvey's grocery store here in Waycross on that day?
I did.
Okay. Tell us about that.
After I clocked out from work, I went to the grocery store to pick up a couple of items, and then as I was getting ready to go to the counter, one of the young fellas tapped me and said, "This guy over here is taking your picture." And I was like, "Who?" And then he said, "Bobby Worthy." And I was like, "Well, I really don't know him. I just know of him." So he said, "Well, he took a picture of your patrol car too." So I said, "Well, it's okay." So I left out the store, and then about a couple of days later, I was told that I was on Facebook.
Okay. Did you look at anything that was on Facebook at that
I
time?
did.
All right. I've got a few exhibits, Your Honor, that I'd like to be able to show to her, and if it's okay, I'll just hand mark those.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right. So,
Has the defendant seen these?
no, sir. I'll show him at this time. All right. Also, Officer, I'll show you what's been marked plaintiff's exhibits 1 and 2. Would you identify those for us?
Yes, that's me at the checkout counter, and this is my patrol car out front of the store.
Okay, those depict you on March the 29th of this year
Yes.
at the Harvey's grocery store?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now where did you get those pictures from?
Off of Facebook.
Okay, and where specifically on Facebook were they?
It was on Mr. Worthy page.
Okay, and how did you become aware that those were on there?
I was told by another officer.
Okay, all right, and then I will show you. Let me show Mr. Worthy these. Plaintiff's exhibits 3 and 4. If you would identify those for us.
Mm-hmm.
What are those items?
Talking about I was at the store on that above date shopping.
Okay, but were those some comments that Mr. Worthy had put on along with those pictures on Facebook?
Yes.
What were the comments that he made?
You have to bear with me. I don't have my glasses on. One of the comments was that any person broadcasting heavy political. I'm sorry, I can't see. I forgot my glasses.
I've got
But-
some. Would that help? Trust me, I've been there before. That any better?
Yes, sir.
Good.
It say any person broadcasting heavy political, revolutionary, or controversial or antagonist positions, and that person has no profile picture or any identification picture of themselves anywhere, that person will draw my investigative suspicion. Any person heavily attacking someone else, programming of action like they are an expert, yet when you look at their timeline and photos, they have done absolutely no organizing all their life. Then that per se will draw my investigative suspicions or be blocked from testifying because they are unqualified to speak and subject they are attempting to speak as an expert on this is one way.
John, I want to object to this.
What's your objection, sir?
The objection is the pictures he showed you is separate from the statement I put on Facebook. That's not the statement I put on Facebook.
I'm going to let you cover that in cross-examination, okay? Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
The other
What was
ones,
the other one?
they say, Ware Cross police officer shopping at the grocery store yesterday, March the 30th, 2017. Department SOP clearly states those vehicles are not supposed to be used for personal use. This is why so many police officers think they can do what they want when they want. If you violate one law and or procedure, then you will violate another law and or procedure. This would eventually lead to violation of major laws and or procedures.
Okay, that was plaintiff's exhibit. Which one was that?
This is going to be 3.
Okay, so that was 3 and 4. You read it? Okay, and then. Show you what's been marked plaintiff's exhibit 5, and that's a 2-page exhibit.
Okay.
Can you identify that for me? What is that?
This is a profile of myself and Mr. Worthy.
Okay, but did you obtain that? Is that something that you provided to me?
Yes.
Okay, and what is that exactly?
It's something that obviously is stated up under both pictures with me and him side by side, talking about we having court tomorrow and for people to join Mr. Worthy.
Okay, was that something that he posted prior to our original court date in this matter?
Yes.
Which ended up being continued.
Yes.
Okay, and he made some statements under those photographs. Is that true?
Yes.
What-
Well, if he didn't, I guess some of the people that's friends with him made statements.
But there was 2 things that he posted up under those, wasn't it?
Yes.
What can you read those?
On
to
this
us?
one here, where it's up under the both pictures, it states, "Tomorrow join me as I am once again forced to defend myself against a Ware Cross police officer that is trying to have me arrested for simply taking her picture while in her uniform shopping in her police vehicle."
Okay, and what was the other one that he posted?
The other one states that that's all good, but their standards operating procedure clearly states that those vehicles are not to be used for professional use. And as long as she is in uniform and or in her patrol car, she has no private duty. Thus, I can video and or take pictures of her.
Okay. Then, one other thing I wanted to show you here. What was he was making complaints about your use of your police vehicle
And in uniform.
and in uniform to go
Yes,
to
sir.
Harvey's?
Yes, sir.
I'll show you plans exhibit 6. What is that?
It's our POM policy, limitation on and off-duty use of department vehicles.
And what does it provide as far as use of your vehicle?
It states,
The relevant part that we're
okay,
talking about.
it's a routine personal errands performed en route to or from work.
Okay. That you can use your vehicle
Yes.
for that?
Yes.
Is that what you were doing on March 29th?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Now, what is the reason that you are asking for a warrant application against Mr. Worthy here today?
I don't know Mr. Worthy like that. I just know of Mr. Worthy. And my concern was him following me in the store, taking pictures of me and of my patrol car.
Okay. And did you give him any consent to surveil you like
I
that?
did not.
Okay. Do you know of any legitimate reason he had to be following you and taking pictures of you?
No, I do not.
All right. Are you asking the court to consider issuing a warrant against him for stalking?
I am.
Okay. Do you feel like that that someone who follows you like that is a potential threat to your personal safety?
Yes, and that's what I felt. The young man asked, he said, "Do you want me to walk you to your car?" I said, "No, I'm fine. It's not necessary." And he said, "Well, I'll walk you anyway."
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you want to tell the judge about that?
I know.
Okay. That's all, Your Honor.
Yeah, Mr. Worthy, I'm going to let you cross-examine her, which means you can ask her questions relating to the scope of her testimony.
Judge, maybe, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but maybe I'll go ahead and tender
those
1
to-
through
okay.
6, if that's okay.
Okay. Mr. Worthy, any objections to these documents being tendered to the court?
The ones you just showed me.
Yes, sir. Well, I'll tell you which ones. I might have to borrow those glasses back.
Yes, sir.
Madam Witness. I usually bring several pair with me with my briefcase. Okay, what I have here, I've got P1, which is a photograph. I've got P2, another photograph outside a store, it looks like. I've got P3, which is a communication that may have been downloaded from a Facebook page. I've got P4, which is another communication.
Well, this one I want to object to. I
You
don't
want to
even
object
know
to
what
that?
that is.
I'm going to hold that for a second. I've got another one here, P5. It looks like a communication from a Facebook page. I've got a P6 here, my guess is. I don't
No,
see
that's
one.
that's all
This
part
is
of
just a
one.
continuation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is cumulative exhibit there. And I've got a P6 here, which is, looks to be some regulations. All right, code. So your only objection is to P4, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But you have no objections to Ps 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Is that correct? I'm going to go ahead and accept those documents into evidence. P4, let's take a look at that. What is your objection to this document?
I don't know who that is. It's not me. I don't know who that
Okay,
is.
doesn't have to be you, but do you have any legal objection to the court reading this document or accepting this into evidence?
My reason I ain't never seen it before. I don't know what
Okay.
it is. I mean, all I read was she read it. I mean, it looks like a computer generated letter. I mean, that could be anybody to print that out. There's no proof where it came from.
Well, the witnesses described it, and I don't hear a real legal basis for withholding this, so I'm going to go ahead and this is allowed tendered over objection. Okay. You may now cross-examine this witness.
Okay. All right. You are a Waycross police officer, right?
I am.
Okay. In the, can I borrow the?
Which one? Which one do you want to see? Have any exhibit that you want to see? That's the one you objected to. There's the other documents. You can look at those.
Can I hold them for a minute?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm going to need them back, though.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Okay, this is. Hey, could you?
Tell her what that is. Which document
This
is
is P3.
Okay.
P3. In that statement, under my picture, under that's the statement that was under my the picture that I posted on Facebook, right?
Correct.
In that statement, is your name mentioned anywhere?
No, it's not.
It's not at all. Yeah, I think I'm through with these.
Okay. All these documents are been admitted into evidence, and they're back to the court.
I got, you do realize that the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that even though you was off duty, as long as you wearing that uniform, you have no private duty. You do know that, right?
Why don't you give her a citation of the Supreme Court case that you referred to?
Okay, here is Your Honor.
You don't have to give it to me. Just tell her what case you're referring to.
Okay, it clearly
If you're gonna
says.
quote Supreme Court, give us a citation so we all know what you're talking about.
All right, it says U.S. Supreme Court, the Fifth Circuit, Rhode Island. They say, and I'll give you a copy here,
Thank you.
and a copy for the court.
All right.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
And it's several citations, and basically they ruled that however the First Amendment.
Well, first of all, you've downloaded some information, and I do appreciate you coming to court equipped with some of the law, but there's a lot of cases that's discussed here, so I guess I'll need to know which case you refer to.
Okay, I'll pick.
And if you're going to refer to something that's just been downloaded off the internet, we typically would need the entire case. A lot of times these little blurbs that they have describing it off the internet may not be entirely accurate. So which case do you refer to? You got
I'm
First
referring to,
Circuit, Seventh Circuit, Ninth Circuit, and 11th Circuit.
The First Circuit.
First Circuit, okay.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the case.
Gilead versus
Glick-
Gunfire. I ain't got my glasses.
Well, tell me which one. Just point to it. All right, that's Glick versus Cuniff, which is found at 655 Federal 3rd 78, 85 First Circuit, 2011. All right, so go ahead. What's your question?
It basically was saying that recording activities of police officers are public officials carrying out their duties in public places. A number of U.S. Supreme Court rulings and Court of Appeals have held that such circumstances, the First Amendment protects the right to record audio, video recordings on whether the police officials consent or not. The constitutional right would override any state or federal law that would override or prohibit such recordings.
All right. Is that your interpretation of that, Mr. Worthy? Is that when you're describing conduct which may represent their official duties? If
Yes.
she's in uniform and performing a task such as a traffic stop or something like that, the Supreme Court case that you've cited may cover that.
Okay.
What about when she's off duty?
Well, even if she's off duty,
In
Your Honor,
private.
because even if she's off duty, long as she has that uniform on,
Okay,
and
that's
in
your
that squad car, which taxpayers' dollars pays for,
Okay.
she still is a public official.
I got you. Go ahead and proceed with this cross-examination.
Okay. And in your statement, you said you feel threatened. You saw me that day.
I did when you was pointed out.
Okay. But and you said you felt threatened.
I did.
And you carry a gun in a badge. You had it on that day, right?
That doesn't mean I have to be threatened.
No. But you was threatened by me. Okay. All right. Another one. Now, Your Honor, I have two. I'm gonna hold one for the court, and I will give him one. I just give. I don't have but two. I thought I had three. And this was Magistrate Wallace in Brunswick, Georgia. Magistrate Wallace, the same similar case. He said that. Let me see. Magistrate Wallace Harrell stated in the same place where a pastor posted something on Facebook about a police officer, and the Magistrate Wallace clearly stated, it said there has been an effort to use the good behavior warrants by police officers to prevent critical speech on Facebook, Harrell said. Generally, good behavior warrants are used only in cases to prevent people from harming or harassing others by direct contact.
Okay.
And he said,
Okay, was that upheld by the Superior Court or the Court of Appeals?
that
or
was the
Georgia
magistrate
Supreme
court in,
That's the magistrate court.
in
Has
Ware
there been-
County.
Has there been?
in Brunswick.
That's in Brunswick, Glenn County. Has there been an appellate decision concerning that case?
No, not that I know of. I think
Okay.
it was,
All right.
it was dismissed at that point.
All right, for what it's worth, all right, go ahead and continue with your cross-examination. Rather than read her the law, why don't you ask her questions about the scope of her
Okay.
testimony?
All right. You said that I felt threatened, and your standard operation procedure that you read does says that your routine errands.
Yes.
Explain how would I know that you was off duty? You was in uniform.
That's why you shouldn't record. I'll take pictures because you don't
But-
know.
Okay.
Well,
Again, answer the question.
Let me
How would
ask
I
you
should know
this.
that
I
you was
mean,
on uniform?
wasn't she shopping in a grocery store?
Yes.
Okay, okay. All right.
So again, how would I know you was on duty? You didn't answer the question.
I was shopping.
Again, how would I know you was off duty?
That's what I'm saying.
Was you, okay, put it this way. Was you in uniform?
Yes, I was.
Was you in your patrol car?
Yes, I was.
So as long as you in that patrol car in uniform, you are a police officer, right?
Yes, I am.
That's it. No further questions.
That's it? Okay. All right. Anything, any redirect?
No.
Okay. Witness may step down. Okay, and is the applicant rest? Y'all rest?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Mr. Worthy, now is your opportunity to tell me if you choose to testify, you can be sworn at this point, and you can present any type of evidence that you'd like to do right now. Is that what you want to do?
Okay, yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Has he been sworn?
No, sir.
Okay, raise your right hand, face the clerk, face the bailiff, I mean.
You swear the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes. Okay, you're under oath. All right, go ahead and make out your defense, sir. Tell me,
Well, the definition of communicating harassment. It's a OCG 161139. Now he comes here today. He's wanting to change that. I think he believes you said you want a. for stalking.
I've heard stalking, which
Yeah,
is
he said stalking.
16590, which can be charged as misdemeanor or felony. But at this
Yeah.
point, I'm kind of looking at this case as 16590. So go ahead.
Well, what I was looking at is 1611.391, where
Okay.
it says harassing communications, which was replaced by phone harassments. This is what's on the paperwork, so I'm going by what's on the paperwork again.
Okay, that's fine.
So, and it says, a person commits the offense of harassing communication if such person contacts another person repeatedly via telephone, email, text message, or any other form of electronic communications for the purpose of harassing, molesting, threatening, or intimidating such person or family of such person. That does not, me taking pictures of her in a uniform does not fit that criteria. I haven't got direct contact with her. I didn't even use her name in the post. And as I read to you that the
Tell me, what was your purpose for taking those photographs?
well, I'm an
and posting them
activist,
online?
John. I'm an activist in the community, and I go around making sure public officials do what they're supposed to do. And so when I see a police official doing what they ain't supposed to do, then I put it, and I actually filed a complaint with her superiors, and that's how her using. I found out that she was shopping that day.
So your complaint is that she was shopping in uniform?
Yes, with taxpayer dollars paid for the uniform. So we got to understand, y'all, when we allow our public officials,
What should she have done, in your opinion? Gone home?
she shouldn't
changed
be.
clothes?
Okay, well, she shouldn't be in uniform in a squad car shopping. I understand the procedure says that, but it also says, the law also says, even though their standard operation procedure says that, the law also says when you convert taxpayer dollars into personal use, taxpayer dollars pays for those uniforms. Taxpayer dollars pays for the equipment they use. So therefore, they have to answer to the public. They have no private duty when they're in them squad cars in those uniforms.
Okay. What else you want to tell me?
That's it.
That's it? All right. Cross-examination?
I have no questions.
No? Okay.
sir. just maybe a brief bit of argument.
Yes, sir. All right, evidence is closed. I mean, you had no other witnesses, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you testified, you were not cross-examined. Of course, asked you a couple questions. I think I understand your position as a defendant in this case. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is hear some closing remarks. Again, you don't have to give a closing argument. Nobody does. I can take this and submit it on the evidence. But I'd like some direction from counsel and you, Mr. Worthy, as to how y'all really see this case evolving. Because this might not be the last time we're in court on this case. Okay? So anyway, I'll hear from you, Mr. Hanfield.
Well, Judge, the way that we're looking at it, and I've spoken with my client, we'd like the court, I think we would be satisfied if the court would enter an open abeyance order, hold this case for 180 days with no contact, not issue a warrant for Mr. Worthy at this time. I certainly understand his arguments as far as being able to videotape public officials. I think the distinction in this case is that she was not on duty at the time. She was actually acting as a private citizen, even though she was wearing a uniform. There are a lot of people that do wear uniforms, bailiffs, correctional officers, various people that might be wearing their uniform when they go about private functions. But she, as shown by the departmental regulations, that the police department allows employees on the way to work or on the way home from work, if they have a routine errand that they're running, and it's that is not going to take them far off of their normal course of journey, to stop and be able to make some purchases like that at Harvey's. So there was nothing wrong with what she was doing in terms of her employment or use of taxpayer dollars. I certainly agree with Mr. Worthy that we want to make sure that public servants are held accountable for good use of taxpayer money, but I don't think Ms. Durham was doing anything that would have in any way been classified as improper or improper use of taxpayer money. Having said that, as I mentioned, we would be satisfied if the court would issue an open abeyance order in this case, just hold it for 180 days with no contact, and presume that there won't be any problem between these parties during that time. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Mr. Worthy, I hear from you. First of all, do you understand what the applicant has requested?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, again, Your Honor, I can't stress it more that even though she wasn't doing anything wrong, I was not, the intent to do any criminal act to her was not there. I was not in the process of harassing her. I was doing what I do as an activist, report the duties of public officials. And this is what our public officials don't understand. When you are let's put it this way. Let's just say if she went out and got an accident in that squad car while she was off duty, the city will still be liable because she's in that uniform. She's in that squad car. If she was in that uniform and she went and punched somebody in the face, and she was in that uniform, she would be responsible if she was off duty if she punched somebody in the face. And me as an activist, this is my job to report the duties of these people. I filed a complaint with her department on this as well. And they sent me the same thing, that they can routine errands. But it still does not change the fact, long as she got that uniform on, she's representing the city. Long as she's in that squad car, she's representing the city. And that's what we got to understand. And what he's saying now about the 180, that's still punishment, Your Honor. I mean, I did nothing wrong. I did what the law allows me to do, to video and audio tape any public officials when they have their uniform on and in that squad car. So now for him to ask for even 180 days, to me still being punished, okay, well, how would that work? I'm riding down the street doing 180 miles an hour. She stopped me. No contact. How would that work? She's a public official. If I go to the police department, I run into her. No contact. How would that affect me? Now rest you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Judge, if I may just briefly. But I think Mr. Worthy's position is that because someone has a status of a police officer and they have a uniform on at any time, that they're subject to anything that he wants to dole out. That's not the law.
That's my concern as well.
That's not the law. And so, having said that, I think that the court could fashion an order. We're not asking, and I disagree with Mr. Worthy that it's punishment. To do an open abeyance order would simply be no contact order for 180 days to make sure that there's not any problems that arise out of this between these parties or that continue. But Mr. Worthy, I don't think that he seems to understand or realize the distinction between someone acting in a public capacity and acting in a private capacity.
Right.
Can I
Okay.
read? Can I?
If you may feel
Yeah.
the need to respond, go ahead.
Well,
Make it brief.
I think counsel not understanding the law, because I read in depth, in detailed depth, and it's actually cases all over the case. The Mike Brown case, even in these different cases across police brutality across the world, it clearly states that they have no private duty. If you look it up, I understand they're off duty. But as long as they are operating what taxpayers' money pay for, then the council is wrong on that. Now, I can't just harass them and go to their house and stuff like that. But when they're out in the public, in that squad car, in a uniform, they ain't got no private duty.
Well, I think you're having some difficulty with the distinction between her public acts and her private life. And that's where I have the issue. And I think you got to draw that distinction, Mr. Worthy. I mean, first of all, let me just, congratulate you on your activism. I think that's a healthy thing in our society, especially these days. I think we need government watchdogs. I might be in the minority in that viewpoint, but I kind of appreciate that based upon our current political climate. I think we need government watchdogs. However, I think what we got to do is understand this may be Officer Durham to us, but when she's off duty, her kids know her as mom, her husband, boyfriend, whatever, knows her as Florinda. She has a right to have a private life, and that private life cannot be affected in ways that might involve criminality. Now, you can have a seat if you like. I'm going to get to you again, but right now it's kind of my turn to talk. All right, so what I see in this, and I try to draw some distinctions myself between the conduct that I see that's happened on the outside of the courtroom and the arguments of law and such, and based upon the factual evidence that I see. First of all, I think counsel has made a very interesting observation as far as how to dispose of this case in a way that's not too problematic for everybody, including you. But under 16590, I would have trouble myself finding that this rises to the level of stalking based upon what I've always interpreted that statute to mean is repeated patterns of behavior and so forth. I'm only seeing this one time, the evidence that was taken. Then I see basically that evidence is reproduced on the Facebook account, which may or may not rise to that level, but I'm kind of finding it does not rise to the level of stalking. And that was the charge that I was most concerned about. I've heard your electronic eavesdropping arguments and such, and certainly that you wouldn't want to be charged with any one of those, but I appreciate you bringing that to the court's attention earlier. I looked at it as a possible 16590 stalking case, but again, I don't see the evidence rises to that level. I don't see really the intent to annoy and harass, which is a mandated element of that charge. So I'm going to find that there is no evidence that rises to that criminal standpoint at this time. However, I mean, given that you are passionate about watching over governmental entities and things of that nature, and given that whatever I order, whatever any judge orders, I don't think you're going to stop. I mean, it's in your blood, Mr. Worthy. You're an activist. You feel an obligation to do this kind of thing. However, she has a right to live privately as a citizen, undisturbed by conduct such as yours. Okay, so I am going to adopt the recommendation of Mr. Hatfield. I'm going to issue a good behavior order, and we'll call this an open abeyance for 180 days. Now, what that means, it means that upon a repeated violation of this, Mr. Worthy, this court, if it's brought back to the attention of the court, I would have additional hearing on this matter or possibly issue a warrant for your arrest. So I want you to leave her alone. She's got a right to enjoy life as a private citizen, freely, undisturbed by acts such as this. Okay? If it happens again, it's going to be a different outcome. But I will adopt that recommendation, Mr. Halfield. I think that's a very reasonable disposition of this case. And nobody goes to jail today. That's always a good outcome, right? Okay, question?
Yeah, I just want to make before you close
Well,
it out.
I don't want to hear further argument. The time for that is over and done with. But if you have a question about this ruling, I'll entertain
Okay.
that.
Well, again, she's a police officer. I'm riding down the road. She stopped me. How does that work?
Well,
I mean, do I get punished or she get punished?
You know, here's the thing. Is what I have to tell people. I'm a civil practitioner, and I do a lot of what's called TPOs, and good behavior bonds on the criminal side. TPO is basically a temporary protective order issued by a Superior Court judge. Tells one party, or sometimes both the parties, to stay away from each other. Now, at any given time, the greatest concentration of Camden County is not really at the naval base, it's at Walmart. If there's anybody that you're supposed to stay away from, chances are next time you go to Walmart, that's where you're going to see that person. Okay? What I have to tell people all the time is if you see her, you see him, you turn around and go the other direction. Okay? Therefore, there's no incidental contact. Now, you brought up an interesting topic. What if she pulls you over? And you certainly cannot help that because you got pulled over. That conduct by hers, she's acting in the official scope of her duties. She pulled you over because you ran a red light or something like that. You're going to have contact with that officer. We'll just have to hope that those kind of things just don't happen.
Okay.
But you can throw out 100 what ifs, Mr. Worthy, and if you can find a violation, you're probably going to find that with little help from the court. So I would urge you and order you not to go out looking for violations involving this officer. Okay? Stay away from her completely. That is directly and indirectly. Don't Facebook about her. Okay? That's going to be a part of the order as well. If there's something that you observe as a citizen that's interested in governmental issues, then certainly, I mean, you have a freedom of speech, you have freedom of press, you have First Amendment rights that apply to you. So certainly you can speak about them, you can write about them. But what I'm telling you, I find that she was acting in the officials, well, she was acting as a private citizen when she went shopping at Harvey's. So that is fully accepted based on the R&O of the Sheriff's Office and regular procedures and also good common sense. So leave her alone. There's going to be an order that I'm going to issue, 180 days. We'll hold it in abeyance. At the end of the 180 days, if there's no further violations, case will stand dismissed. If there's further contact, then the case will not be dismissed, and we'll have further hearing on it. Okay? That'll be my order. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Fairfield.
When will that order be ready, John?
Can I get
Right
an
about
address
now.
to mail that to you?
Let's see. I think there was one in the file. This was not tendered, sir. Did you wish to have these back?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Good to see you, Judge. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Excellent. Alexa, how are you? Okay. How are you? Listen.